Um, it it definitely made a difference when I went a huge period of time and wasn't writing.
Mm-hmm. One of the reasons why I got in touch with Jeff to do this at all was I was sitting there thinking randomly one day about all the different angles and stuff we did and how much I missed, every day just sitting down and having an excuse to write something, It's
Mm-hmm.
really hard to try and do it independently when you don't have the, you know, the outside goal, I guess you could say.
Well, the other perspectives to bounce it off of.
Yeah, that I
Yeah,
think
exactly. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Just the pressure that oh well, Jeff put something up, so I better put something up. Oh wait, now Benny's got something up, and I have to follow that up too, and just
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
everybody feeding off of everyone.
I wouldn't have said it's quite pressure. Maybe I always viewed it as more like camaraderie. Like I want to continue this.
Well, it depended on the
Well,
match.
of course, you wanted to continue. Your stuff was all about boners.
Well, that was the later work. The later work with Benny Blair.
so.
Your classics.
That was his boner period, much like Picasso's blue period.
That's right. I
don't want to see Benny's blue boner. Okay.
Yeah. There was
Speak for
something
yourself.
that you really wanted to follow.
Mm-hmm.
Even when it was dying, every now and then someone would have put a post up and I'd be like, man, I want to follow that. And then I would get home and like all my momentum to do it just didn't seem to be there. But like it really was that. It was someone would write something like, yeah, matches were one thing. You had to kind of go and do the work, but it was the ones outside of the matches. It was when somebody posted something and you were just like, well, shit, we're going to run with this angle. Like, let's go all in on it. I think all the best stuff happened.
That, and I felt like the competitive aspect of it really pushed people to not only just improve, but try and, it brought out the best in their writing, if that makes sense.
Most people.
Yeah.
I'm sure we have the Hollies and the Adam Dravens of the world.
I'm glad you knew who I meant. All right.
There are quite a few players, I'm sure. I mean, I have to think about it for a minute, that started out kind of at that level and leaped way ahead because they kept at it, And I think having those people to pick up from helped,
Even the people who didn't figure out how to write, but figured out angles better, made all the difference.
Yeah, it really did.
Right? Some of them were still mediocre writers, but they at least like learned to grab onto a gimmick and really own it in a way that it made it easier to interact with them. Like Holly was cardboard, legitimately, and not in the cool way that there were cardboard cutout angles going. Holly was cardboard and didn't get angles.
Well, sometimes I thought maybe she was like a sort of a troll account, kind of like Thor is a troll account, where they're deliberately being shitty.
Does Thor know that Thor is a troll account?
I feel like it's a shtick. I've always felt that he knows what he's doing.
Well,
I don't know him that well. Maybe I'm wrong.
Pretty well, so
unconfirmed.
Unconfirmed. But getting to what you were saying, Jeff, about angles and what have you. One of the things I always thought that Eric was really good at, that I guess he never really got a whole lot of coverage. He was really good at putting anybody who was in an angle with over, actually, more often than himself. Because as Benny once touched on, a lot of times when we were playing, people's kind of, I guess, egos got involved in it. I was guilty of it too. But I always felt like with Eric, he never let that stop him from trying to write the best story he could, And I think that it was very impactful.
I was gonna say, I think for a lot of people, I don't know if it was necessarily egos all the time. If it wasn't just like trepidation to kind of include other people because you didn't exactly know how to write them and you didn't want to like step on their toes.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was probably some of that.
Well, I referenced that, Benny, because I remember a while back you had said that a lot of people had trouble divorcing themselves from criticisms and attacks of their characters and how that can create problems and what have you. And I was kind of calling back to that a bit.
One of my favorite people, I mean, if you go way back, and I think someone dropped their name in our chat when we were talking about who might, see it and get on, was Frank. And Frank and I really became friends when he texted me outside the game to tell me how much he loved Nighthawk and legitimately how much he hated whoever the asshole was that ran Acid Ed. with no clue that there was, like, it was way back in C-Slam. And I remember being so overjoyed that I had written him distinctly enough that he could hate the guy behind one of them and want to be friends with the guy behind the other one.
And that's definitely not an easy thing to do, especially when it comes to like creating a voice for a character in the narrative prose part of the writing, you know.
That's
But
right.
I also remember you telling me back in C-Slam you convinced a dad to swerve his son's character.
I did.
How did that even happen? Do you remember?
Vaguely. I think I had just gone into one of the majors. And I'm trying to remember it. One of the characters' names was like Poison or something like that. And I didn't know when I first started kind of working the angles that they were related. And then when I pitched the angle initially, they said, hey, listen, it's an amazing angle, but ... that's my son. And I was like, oh, doesn't that make the angle better? And they were like, what? I'm like, yeah, doesn't that make the angle better? like not only heat on the boards, but there'll be heat at the dinner table and it'll be hilarious.
You know, and the whole time the wife doesn't know why the fuck they're mad at each other. You know,
That's right. They're just
and they
sheer
can't
bitter.
really explain it. You know, she's just like, shit got awkward really fast.
I don't think it was really the challenge of getting the dad to do it that was amazing. The real challenge was convincing him not to do it early, to save it till like the big match that the kid was really invested in winning. Like,
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was funny. Surprisingly, after the initial reaction, the kid handled it really well. But they didn't end up playing a whole bunch for a long time after that. So hopefully it didn't flare up at the dinner table.
It wasn't.
I mean,
pestilence,
I would
was
laugh
it?
if it did.
I missed that. What was the? Not the I would laugh if.
I said it wasn't pestilence, was it? I remember that guy.
Man, I can't say for sure. I remember that guy too, and I can't say for sure that it wasn't. C-Slam to me feels like I was in my 20s because I was, and I am so much.
I mean,
I started when I was 15.
I started when I was 11, and I got into my first elite at 13, so I don't know.
Oh, so
But remember when they did like
Valentine was legitimately a kid when he started playing.
Yeah, it was. Remember when they had consolidated a bunch of the majors and they had like CCWE and CWFE? Remember that?
Yep.
And the CFL.
The CFL.
Yeah, the CFL.
Right?
And where all the really washed up people like Jeff would go. You know, it was funny because remember when I was like, really hungry back then about was like
Raymond
trying to get
and Jericho.
recognition and clout and what have you. I would look at the CFL and I'm like, man, these guys are supposed to be the best. No one's doing anything. What is this?
They'd already reached the apathy that it took us like 15 more years to get to.
I know, man.
I always read CCWE back in those days. It was the best bet. It had Naked Man in it.
Totally agree.
It did.
Oh, I remember.
I mean, you can't really. And actually, wait, wasn't he Dr. Abortion in CCW?
He was probably both.
Well, yeah. I mean, he had so many alts, it's hard to keep track of them all. Dark Jedi and all those other ones,
Naked Man with Knife.
That's right.
Naked Man with Knife.
Toaster.
That was the best timeline right there.
Randy, where were you when you started? I don't think I've heard that before.
I started in C-Slam, but I think I started in C-Slam like a month and a half before it closed.
Gotcha.
I literally was just moved up to a national, and like then the next week they just like shut everything down. I was like,
right, dude, that happened to me too. That exact thing happened to me. I was up at the CWO, and then this weird thing happened where like everybody stopped posting suddenly, and then it was just the AOD posting about the nothing like taking over the world.
Was that when we had the saga where all the fans were replaced with cardboard cutouts?
Yeah, that was the nothing saga.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Because
That was one of the most brilliant things I've ever read.
if
That
I
was
remember,
Stormfire at his best.
oh man, Stormy, shoot. I was thinking about Stormy and thinking about Wingnut and how great they were. But you mentioned CWO and it reminded me of IPWF. Do you remember that, Benny? That was where Naked and Whole Evil and all that.
APWF? Yeah.
Yeah.
I came
That was
from
where
IDSLW though.
Oh, you did? Okay, because that was where the AOD sort of kind of started, and
Yeah.
that was the first indie we were trying to get promoted to a major because nobody wanted to go. Like people would go to CDBO and ask to be demoted back.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding.
No, that's legit.
It is, but if you found the right people to play with, like when I came up, it was literally myself and Ridgeway and Osiris. Like we started like the same day.
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
And then Homeless Jay started like a week after we did.
that's a pretty good group.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's pretty solid.
And we were all writing together in the same Fed, and then we came up to the CWO and we started writing with I think Jordan had a character there.
Yeah, I had Psycho Man there, and Naked Man was there, and I want to say, oh no, Whole Evil went to CCW.
No, it was Stormfire, and it was the Virtue Knights.
Yeah, it was me, Stormfire, Naked Man, and Virtue Knight. I remember now. Yeah.
Virtue Knight and Count Justice.
Yeah, Count Justice and Virtue Knight. Yeah, I remember them. Yeah, I remember them, man. Which was basically Whole Evil and Naked Man's faults, but they had so many else to begin with. So
Right.
What?
You know.
So here, like, I think I know the answer for Randy. I don't think I necessarily know the answer for the other two of you.
Mhm.
When did Federation X cross your radar?
Ooh.
You can go first, man.
Like seriously crossed my radar?
Yeah, like when was it more than just a thing you heard about, like, but a thing you were like, I think I'm going to go do that. Like,
honestly, I think it was right after I lost to Jordan in the.
I'm out of here. There's got to be another place.
No, it was.
Yeah,
'cause I was
I
like,
lost to Jordan, and that was it. I was out.
Damn. On blast.
That's amazing.
well, no, because it was like I was given the reason for the loss, and it
Mhm.
was like, wow. It was what's his name? Brute Bernard.
Yeah.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
his fucking was it Vic Caesar or something?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like he gave the reason as I think he said my writing was better, but Jordan stuck to the plot of the movie. And I was
Look,
like,
when I knew
wait, what?
when I knew that was the gimmick of the movie, I ran off to Blockbuster and rented it for the 2 days and watched it constantly while writing. So
I
Hey,
legitimately,
you put the work in. You put the work in.
I lost in one of the tournaments, and it went like this first, and we still joke about it, like it's the ongoing joke. But Chris literally posted, for sure, Austin James should win, but he's going to get the votes from the other judges, so I'm going to give it to Johnny Excess. Like that's what his write up was.
wait,
The
who
next
wrote that?
judge in, Titus.
Okay.
And the next judge in was a follower. Like, well, if
Mhm.
the other judge voted for that guy, like he was one of those guys, and you can go back and look. He always reported in second among the judges, and it was always the same as the other judge. Never.
So he was like the swing vote, man.
So really, and then as soon as it happened, I said to Chris, I'm like, "You're a dick," and he's like, "It just makes it funnier." I don't know what to tell you. Like,
I mean, listen, in order to win, you got to get that first judge because the other one's going to go the same direction. I mean, that's some politics right there. You need to
was
campaign
funny.
harder, Jeff.
what are you gonna do? You know what I should have done? I should have quit and gone to play somewhere else. Apparently.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. Sorry,
Randy,
Benny, but you were
Randy,
mentioning the.
Oh, go ahead.
Somebody speak.
No, you were answering Jeff's question about
Here to
FedEx,
dance.
and then we talked about our match and stuff. So continue. I'm sorry.
Oh. Yeah. So anyway, I got kind of fed up with just the constant push for activity. Like people kept bothering me to be active, and that makes me not want to be active.
So
Like
you're saying
they'd be
Benny's
like,
lazy?
"Oh, you can't,
Wait, Benny's lazy?
you can't be in the majors and only post 3 times a week because nobody else here is really running anything that's close to what you're doing."
Right.
Mhm.
Was it one of those places where they were like, if I don't get your story, I'll just ignore you? Like, did you turn a bus ride into a flying pig in outer space that time traveled, and people just were like, I'm not even pretending he's.
Well, there was the
Okay.
Because I don't think I made that up. I think that's
was that a real
subconscious.
story? Because I didn't see that one.
I think it happened.
There was like 4 months in the UCE under Dr. Keebler where it was Homeless Jay and Cannibal and Benny, and all that they were doing was like running angles based on disaster themed airships that they owned. Cannibal had
there was also the locker room saga where they spent an entire month in David Cage's locker room.
Oh, that was probably one of the funniest things I've ever read.
And they ran entire cars in the locker room.
That's hilarious.
I know, that was absolutely brilliant. I wish I was a part of that.
No, I only got to watch it from the outside, and it was amazing, especially the level of creativity when it came to each new thing would come up of reasons why they would have to leave. They found a way to like make it to where they didn't need to. And the actual guy that played Damien Cage, he stopped posting in the angle after a while because like every time he contributed, people would just ignore him. Gosh. So he got written out of his own angle. It was amazing.
So Jordan, what was your first crossing to FedEx?
Well, I was kind of in and out of Wrestle for a long time because after C-Slam shut down, like out of nowhere, because I remember us getting a lot of notice when that happened, and just kind of logged on one day and they're kind of saying they were done. And so for a while, everybody was moving over to Wrestle, and Eric and I couldn't do that because we didn't have a PC. We were using this shitty old web TV. But eventually they made Wrestle compatible with that, and he jumped right in. And for a little while, I was in the CDBA that Maverick ran, but eventually I lost interest where I kept going. And one day I was watching Eric post, and I'm like, where are you posting at? And he said, at FedEx. I'm like, what the hell is that? And he explained to me this thing called Indie Wrestle they were doing, where FedEx was a little side project, I guess, to regular Wrestle. Is that kind of how it worked?
Well, sure. Technically,
That's the story.
Yeah.
I don't know the details of what Indie Wrestle meant as far as
somebody came up with the idea that they could make money by coming to people like us and saying, if you want your own Fed, instead of going through the system and waiting to be approved and working within the structure, you run it, it's yours. Like the whole deal is you pay us X number. And I was like, I'll pay you. Like, I'll pay you tomorrow. And they were like, okay. Because I don't think they had any clue of the amount, like between me and Tim and Bruce, the amount of pull that we had.
Oh, yeah.
And then on day one, like, I think there were 300 posts in the first hour.
Now this person that presented this idea to you wouldn't happen to have been Ice Hog, would it?
So Ice Hog made it available. You guys don't know this, but way back when, Ice Hog liked me. Look, it was Bart that didn't like me. I don't know when Hog decided that I was the enemy of all mankind, but originally,
probably when we took half of their people.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain. Like, I used to write for one of their news sites, and I like a couple of those things that they would put up, and I did a whole bunch of writing for them, and I like some focused on the game and some focused on real wrestling, and I did a bunch of that, and he was always commenting and talking me up and telling people to read it, and then I gave him the idea for masking, if you remember when they introduced masking, and he credited me like it wasn't a rope-a-dope, like we were cool, and then they came up with Indie Wrestle. And I put my hand up and went, I think we're down. And Tim said, hey, I think we're down. Of course, Tim had a lot of cachet because he'd done a lot of work for them inside Wrestle proper. And they were like, yeah, that'll be great. And the next day,
did a lot of C-Slam too, so we had like hella clout.
Right. And then the day, and we spent a lot of time preparing for it. Like we put a whole marketing campaign together to spread the word. When we opened, the day we opened, like accounts were made and people were posting so quickly. And then they started getting complaints from all of their big federations because some pretty big names were like, I'm out of here. Have you guys seen FedEx? That's where I'm headed.
Well, people go where the fun is. So,
and we built a model that basically said, hey, by the way, if you want to be the champ, you can't just buy it. So people were like, oh, so I don't have to spend $100 a month on WrestleBucks and I can still be the champ? Awesome. And they were pissed because their revenue dropped.
And that's where I came was that, you know, Tim just jumped on me and said, hey, you need to get over here. This is where you need to be playing. Because you know, I was one of the guys that could always win my matches, but I didn't spend any WrestleBucks. So I never moved up the ranks as far as winning championships or whatever. So,
yeah.
So, yeah, I heard about the indie wrestle and I did that very briefly, but I wasn't 100% on board yet. And then I wouldn't really go all in on wrestle till y'all did the reboot after that lottery fiasco. Why did the first version of FedEx end? I don't remember
that. They shut it down.
Really? Just for no reason?
Oh, I'm sure they could tell you they had reasons, but the reason was pretty simple. The same reason every business, you know, discontinues things. It's not advantageous to the business to continue to provide it.
Man, they must have had some pretty pissed off players.
They did, and they said they changed the engine, and we said, yeah, but India is a separate thing. Just leave the old engine running. Like, we pay you. And they said, you don't pay us enough. And we said, well, tell us what enough is. Like, let's have this conversation. And they said, no, we're changing it. And they changed it. And all of a sudden, nobody could figure out like how to win. And there was kind of an uproar and a pushback. And they went out and made some like public, like on WrestleMania home screen commentary. They put out some narratives that really pissed him off. And so we started to push back pretty aggressively. And then they decided that, like, you'll notice, like, even in Wrestle's next run before they shut the whole thing down, like, Indie Wrestle was never a thing again.
Yeah. I think that was
like not just available not to us, not available to anybody for fear that somebody would be as successful as we were.
That's a shame. But I mean, I guess they wanted to make their paper, so.
Yeah. I can't think of any other reason it went that way, so.
I mean, I know why it started again because of the whole lottery disaster that happened in NGPW and what have you, caused a mass exodus. And then I remember there was all the pro wrestle guys that were creating this narrative that was Maverick's fed, and he wasn't even an admin.
Yeah, it was. So here's the thing, though. Like, Maverick really supported that move because when it went down, it was Tim and I that really got hammered, I think, the worst. I think a lot of people got hammered, but Tim and I got hammered the worst on it because we did what we would do, right? If you're a FedEx guy and we figure out how to break their buy your wins system, we told everybody, hey, this much of an investment, this many wins, this much, this is how it works for you. And so we got everybody on a program where, you know, you would earn enough to buy lottery tickets. If you bought enough lottery tickets, you would make this much money in the lottery every month. And so we just started cycling through it, and guys were almost in a state of constant, like, they never lost their money. They always had enough money every month to buy their stats again. And then when they did it and they stripped everything out and they made a big deal about it, Tim said to them, hey, you built bad code. We figured out the game. We found the hole in the game and we figured it out. Like, we did what players are supposed to do. And your response is to punish us.
I mean, the onus should be on the developers to patch or rewrite the code or what have you to make it to where that doesn't work anymore once the first thing's been figured out. That's what major game companies do, you know?
Right. So when that blew up, of course, they had a big executive committee conversation about it. And Maverick said to them, hey, they're not wrong. Like, we did something wrong. They didn't do something wrong. And their position was they knew that they had found a loophole in the game and they didn't report it. So they're the culprits. And of course, Tim and I did what we would normally do and kind of said, screw you. And also, I don't think you remember FedEx, but we can make that happen. And we walked and we found a terrible site with an awful engine.
Those boards and that engine were so poverty.
And 35 people showed up on day one.
No, look, I'm not denying that, but I'm saying going from the Rassel site as somebody that, was
Yeah.
experiencing FedEx for the first time to that was something, man. It was,
Yeah.
but it was fun to role play there, so I stuck around, well, kind of.
I think that's what happened. I think we got a lot of people who thought it was fun to role play with each other outside of the constraints of what was going on in Rassel. And a lot of players who are like, I'm a better writer than I am somebody spending money on stat points. So this is where I want to be.
I would almost hazard to say that FedEx became the new CCW.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
As far as that's where, if you wanted to write, like, that's what made me want to go to FedEx, was people that I wanted to write with were there.
Right.
Period.
And just the best writers were there, period.
Yeah, I think that's right. I know that there's a lot of narrative around it, but when Jordan planned the original, was it King of the Cage, the first one? It was.
It was King of the Cage, yes.
Yeah. King of the Cage, we invited everybody that Rassel could put forward as a champion writer.
We told them to pick their people, if I remember correctly.
Right. And did any of them make it out of the first round?
Actually, C. McCormick did, if I remember correctly. He
he
stabbed
would.
Storm, but they also presented Phil Stone as one of their representatives. Was Carnage with us, or was he doing double duty at the time?
I think he was doing double duty.
Okay, so he was kind of half and half, because there's a few of us, like me and him, that were doing double duty, so I'm not sure if he counts as something put forward, but I want to say the two ones I remember are C. McCormick and Phil Stone. I think the other ones either no-showed, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Some of the ones they sent.
Listen, all I'm saying is I don't remember them picking somebody that I stepped back and went, well, there's a chance we might lose.
Well, it didn't hurt that some of their best people were also playing on our site. And then,
Right.
Once the whole thing shook out, there was all those accusations of collusions because you won and it was your event. They had to frame that like it was all rigged.
Yeah.
Which was frustrating as somebody that helped organize it, because I cared a lot about that event,
Listen, so would it have been less rigged if Storm won? Like,
man.
What are you talking about?
Exactly. He was right there with us. They wouldn't have been having this. One of those guys got there, but the people they sent just weren't good enough or didn't show up. I think if you're sending Phil Stone, you might already be fucking up. I'm just saying.
Right. I felt like when we put that together, we put 16 people in it, if my memory serves. I felt like when we put that together, there were 8 players I legitimately believed could make the finals.
Do you remember how many people Rassel sent of the 16? Because I honestly don't. I know we had one person for our titles, I believe.
Yeah. And we went to them and gave them, like, I think the Universal Carnage champion we gave a spot to, and I think the last Barroom Brawl champion we gave a spot to. Like, I think we went out of our way to find their champions and say, come do this.
Right. And one of them, we also over to their OWC, which I don't remember who that was at the time. I don't know. Wait, that might have been me. I don't know.
Could have been.
Sorry, continue.
But I think to Matt's point, if you were really about the story and the writing, probably you were already in FedEx anyways.
Yeah, I think that's a very accurate statement. Someone that did double duty, so to speak, the reason why I kind of stuck around Rassel was because there were people that I knew that weren't really interested in. They bought into some of the narratives, I guess you could say, but they were still my friends. Yeah. So I didn't want to just, up and bail. You know what I mean?
I think we had conversations where I would say to you, like, are you serious? Like, they don't want to come and play? Like, what's the deal?
Yeah, we had a few talks about that. That, and at the time I was having a hot streak in UC, and I wanted to try and cement my, whatever you want to call it now, irrelevant legacy. But no,
that worked out well.
I do remember that first year was really stacked overall, though, for the King of the Cage.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, you and Gino had a knockdown, drag out, amazing match.
We did have a good match.
The final was interesting.
It was something.
It existed.
The match with Gino was the best match I had, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
think.
wait,
So.
what was the final?
It was Storm and I.
Yeah.
And what happened?
I'll let Jeff talk about this.
I want to hear the elevator pitch.
So the elevator pitch is that I think at that point both of us wanted to win a little too much, and there was way too much politicking behind the scenes instead of fighting and letting the story come to the front.
Weird. That is fake internet type words wrestling in a nutshell.
Yeah. Yeah.
The egos and politics. That's what it fucking is.
I mean,
it was literally the worst of it. And honestly,
to be charitable now, at that time, that was the biggest role play event that we'd ever assembled between two games. And so the desire to be the guy that won that makes sense why there'd be some high passions. You know?
And to be fair, Storm had been the superstar champion, defending constantly, and was really on a heck of a run. I don't know going in. Like, I think if you'd said to him before the tournament started, you'll make it to the finals and then lose to Alan, he would have said, that's cool. I think once he got there, the momentum of having like defended for so long and made it, and the idea of coming out with it and the world heavyweight title and being the first person to win it, it became a lot. And I can't say that it was wildly different from me. For me, where it derailed, where I really actually stepped back and said, somebody do something about this, he did my intro for me. He brought me to the ring.
Yeah, I remember that. Jeff,
right.
you and I had a long conversation about that, if you remember.
Yeah, I do.
You ask if you can do that. If you're in a good match, you ask if you can do that.
Right. I think he had some constraints on his time. He wanted to get his posts up, and he didn't have anything more to tell in the build-up narrative of the story. And I did. And I, like, let's face it, guys, like, competition is strategy. And I knew he was dead in the water waiting for me in the ring. So let him sit and figure out, like, are you just not going to post? What are you going to do? And so he did what he was going to do, which is force my character to the ring. Took my entry from me.
I'm not going to lie to you, Jeff. Every once in a while, I get salted about the fact that the final was with him and not me, because I really wanted that at the time. But you know, I thought we might have had an interesting match. But
I think the good news, honestly, about that whole thing. And by the way, I think you had one or two shots at the superstar title before the event, and then you were on track to collide with him in the event. Eric, if you're listening, I apologize. I assumed you would win at least one of those and take the title off of him.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys had some really good matches, and I don't think I was the judge of all of them. Like, you had some really good matches where I sat back and went, oh man, like, Eric really was on a roll, and he was hitting you at a point where you had Rude in a pretty good groove, and it just didn't break the other way.
He and I always had a way of bringing up a lot of good out of each other in terms of matches and things like that. But that particular month, he was just, you know, he hit that next level. That kind of like the same thing that happened to Mr. Price in the following King of the Street Fight tournament. If you remember, he also had a really good run.
Didn't he face you in the finals, Randy?
No,
he did.
Yeah, Randy in the finals.
Yep.
And you were Aaron for that one, right?
Yeah, it drove him insane.
I was just going to say, he hated that so much.
He hated that character so bad.
Actually, Randy, how much of your run in the King of the Street Fight do you remember?
Very little.
Oh, do you remember your match with XS a lot or no?
I remember XS a little bit, but I mean, my matches just kind of go in and out of my mind. When you get to be 58, this stuff just doesn't stick with you.
That's right.
No, I understand completely. I was just curious because I remember, like, that year, people didn't predict XS would actually try the way he did.
No, because he's lazy.
Well, who would ever predict XS would try at anything?
100%. That's
I mean,
correct.
most of his posting was done on the shitter, right?
I think that was one of XS's things was that he didn't want to lose to me. He and I kind of had a rivalry going back to, I think, Gilgamesh even.
Yep.
And that was just one of those, he didn't want to lose to me, I didn't want to lose to him. So every time we went at each other, he would actually try.
As XS, or was he Haley?
It was XS, right?
It was XS with Gil. Haley, he did some stuff with us too, but it was really XS.
For the tournament, he was all XS, if I remember right.
Yeah, you remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel confident in saying that he kept Haley away from Aaron 100%.
That might have been best for everyone.
Haley was really wrapping Haley up by the time that those tournaments rolled around.
Yeah, he mainly kept around from what I could tell for like Stable Wars and Wrestle every so many months or however long they ran it.
That
like
right.
Whenever Stable Wars would happen, he'd dust her off and he'd go pretty heavy and hard, and then after it was done, he'd shelve her back and go back to being lazy.
Yeah.
The most I remember about Haley is the one time Benny made the US
How many times?
tournament. One time. The one time Benny made the USOB tournament or the TSOB tournament.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I think I fucking lost because I don't care about the fucking engine. I just want to write.
Right.
And I think I used my last matches to try to take Barrister down a couple notches, and I succeeded. So my next post was like taking I don't know, a tampon out of Haley's gym bag or something and shoving it up Barrister's nose. Then Haley pinned him.
Classy as ever.
But that would not have bothered Price at all. Like that would have fallen right in line with him.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of falling in line, I wish I had been around when Acid Ed and Homeless Jay had their big RP match.
Oh my God.
I didn't get to see it, but Homeless Jay told me that he did face off with Ed.
He did. He took my face off and put it on him, and then took his face off and put it on me.
And I remember thinking, Jay can be so goofy and silly that I'm not sure if Jeff's going to be able to bounce with this. I was really curious about that match. Can you talk about that one a little?
Yeah, well, first of all, I wish Jay played more. I had so much fun in that match. And I certainly he played a little bit going into it, and I knew he could write. And I knew he would throw me some curveballs, and I thought that was going to be interesting. And he did not waste any time. Like he went straight to that move. And I remember thinking in the moment, so the goal here is not to undo what he did, but to turn it to my advantage. And so I think if I remember correctly, as I wrote it out, my plan was to have the fact that you were wearing the other person's face slowly start to influence your behavior to be more and more like the other person.
Right.
And so I started making Jay, I get it, Jay was violent, but not like Ed violent. There was a distinct difference. Jay's violence was of the streets, of the homeless people, whereas Ed was punch a baby in the face violent. And so I started to write, I really put my regular writing of Ed into his character, and then tried to shape my my writing the way that I experienced Jay and wrote Jay into Ed. And we really kind of traded back and forth. And I think it was, I had a lot of fun, and I could have been comfortable with somebody coming and going, hey, that was really good. It was really well written, but the whole story revolved around his idea. So we're going to give him the win. I don't think I'd have been upset. He did such a great job.
You got the win on that one?
I did get the win in that one.
It reminds me it was me and Benny, I think, and got hit in the head and started to think he was another one of the characters, and the two of us just went back and forth, and just he played XS for a while, and then I was Stoner Boy or something. It was just like, and we just wrote in everybody else's style for an entire match.
I'm just taking a look on the website. Did we store the role plays anywhere?
Oh, we had some of the role
subboard
plays
for it,
under
didn't we?
legendary rewrites or something.
Yeah.
Hey, there's my cousin.
Hey, everybody.
Hey,
Val.
Hey, good to not see any of you. Am I the only one sharing a video?
I mean, you don't
Not
have
anymore.
to be. I can turn mine on. You can all see my crazy hair.
Oh,
Okay.
I didn't know we were sharing video.
Zip is super easy to do.
How do I do that? I don't know what I'm bugging.
I'm super dark right now. Look, I can let myself up
Like
in the
grim
tip.
dark or no, just strip
Look,
dark.
just sitting in the darkness.
What button do you
Yeah.
hit to do that?
There's a video button.
Oh,
Should be next to your mic button, your like dial-in button.
where? Oh, okay. Let me see. I'm just gonna press buttons. I'll
I
figure
think
it
I
out.
sent
Continue.
a whole bunch to somebody. Everything else. There's an everything else, and it's got the rewrites on it.
Yeah.
I'm just taking a look to see.
I don't think it goes all the way back, but it goes back a fair amount. I just joined as you guys were talking rewrites. I think it goes back a fair amount, and it catches most of the. I think it catches most of the.
Oh, yeah, I
BRBs
figured it out.
in one world.
There's a whole ton of King of the Rings on it.
Mhm.
Whoa, somebody's echoing.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's me. Did it just start when I came in?
Yeah, I think they in the Legend of Rewrite section. I think they have the Funeral of Asaded in there. This is just purely from memory. Some
There's a
BRB
Gilgamesh
rewrite.
and Eliezer the Prophet on there. Johnny Root and Jason Storm.
There should be a
That's a
Benny
bull-
Valentine match on there.
Holy.
Looking. I think the
Kind of makes me
whole.
wish I'd archive more stuff.
Yeah, no kidding. Benny Blair and Valentine is definitely on here. There's like 14 comments in the reposting of it. Like a conversation broke out around it.
Mm-hmm.
The Stan Daniels, Alan Scott match is on here.
Oh, that one was really,
That was
really
really
good.
good
Well
match.
built it up really well.
That was fun. Again, it was one of those matches was so fun. Who cares what the outcome was going to be kind of match.
Mhm.
Right. Has anybody kept in touch with Stan?
I hear from him every now and then. He was in Toronto a few years ago. We went out for beers, but I can only imagine. So he works, I don't know if you guys know, but he works in the movie theater business. So
wow.
I can only imagine this year has been a complete crap
Been
show.
having
For
a
him.
hard time, yeah.
Oh shit! Last I heard, he was a sports reporter. That was like 14 years ago.
We've talked to him since then, man. That's awesome.
I haven't, but I started playing D&D with him. Like Holy started a D&D game, and he included me and Stan, and then Stan couldn't continue the game, which fucking sucked. Because like me and Stan understand how the game is supposed to be played. We're role play veterans. What can I say?
Man, what a great flex. I'm gonna add that to my Tinder profile. Roleplay veteran. No, never mind.
There's a resume for you.
So
Put up on LinkedIn real-
I don't see the match with Homeless Jay on here.
I guess nobody saved it.
Yeah,
What a
that
shame.
sucks. That was a good match.
Mm-hmm.
Good times. We were just talking about like big matches that we had that we really love. We talked through some of the King of the Ring stuff, and
Nice.
we also talked about how people came to FedEx for the first time. So why don't you tell us that story?
Yeah, it's been a pretty fluid conversation. So you go ahead, and we'll just add in where we add in.
That's right.
Shove on in. So if we're talking FedEx, like that site, I came to it off of C-Slam and Wrestle because I'd been with both of those. So I came to FedEx from Wrestle, which came from C-Slam, which I joined because I was reading some internet columnist, and I don't even know who anymore, but in the mid to late 90s, I was reading some internet columnist who was covering WCW wrestling. And as a throwaway line, they said, hey, and if you haven't been checking out C-Slam, the engine's gotten much better or something like that. And I'm like, well, what is this C-Slam he's talking?
I saw that exact same post. You're absolutely right. I know what you're talking about, and I can't remember who it was.
Wasn't it that website Scoop Central where they advertised?
Scoop Central.
That's the one.
Yep. And I went, wait, a role-playing game about wrestling? What?
I know, right?
And
that's
then I was in.
How I came into it.
Yeah. So that was the gateway for it. And then my biggest hurdle in the beginning of starting in was HTML, because as you all remember, that was very much an HTML heavy site. And so if you didn't know how to like,
you had to manually type in the code, if I remember correctly, and learn how to
actually code. Yeah.
Yep, how to do fonts and bolds and this and that, and nothing like writing a whole thing and then posting it and realizing like I forgot to put a backslash like at line 2.
Yeah,
so
right.
Everything now is like in italics.
Mm-hmm. I remember being super stupid when we went to when they modernized Wrestle and added the things you just hit the buttons and it would plug in the code. I'm thinking, I had to learn that shit by hand, motherfuckers.
Yeah. I couldn't do most of that by hand if you asked me to do that today.
So I work at a bank and we make online training, and I have a tool that we try to do bullet points in it, and they cannot fix the bullet points so they're the same color as the rest of the text. And I'm thinking I could do that back when I was running Wrestle. And they can't build it into the damn engine.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan, you're the echo.
Oh, I'm echoing? I'm sorry.
You're looping us back. We're hearing the second go through from you.
I would say whenever you're not talking,
just hit the mute button
if you can.
Yeah.
It's weird because it didn't happen until you turned your mic, until you turned your camera on.
Yeah.
Now we've lost Jeff. Jeff is muted.
Let me turn off the camera.
That's right.
Wait, how do you do that?
Like, I just want to say, Jeff looks like he sounds, which is rare. You know,
I do not look like I sounded in the first podcast. Does anybody remember the first podcast? My voice, I bought a new mic the next day because my voice sounded like Alvin and the Chipmunks.
I mean, you kind of look like you just got puberty. You know,
it was
like your first hair.
So bad.
That first podcast was pretty rough.
Yeah.
To be honest. Honestly, though, but we made it work. You know,
I think more than once.
You just needed Jason and Gina to heckle me a bunch. That's all. That was the missing ingredient.
That really was the whole podcast right there.
You know, and
it really was. Dude, if you guys could have kept that dynamic, you could have kept going. You could have branched off into anything with that dynamic.
Could have talked about
Jordan,
it wanted,
Jordan would have had to have a fucking armored up hide for that.
Yeah. That, and, you know, we can't forget Benny's musical talent on the show with his hit single Wheelchair Eric.
I was just thinking about that. So disturbing.
How is that disturbing?
Well, for one thing.
I mean, Eric thought it was funny.
I like how Eric kept trying to interrupt the song, and I would keep going.
Just
be like,
terrible.
I'd be like halfway done through a verse, and you'd be like, "Oh yeah, that's really funny." And
somebody
then cut back
posted
in
FedEx 5 days ago. Gino's last post was in August. So August was the month Gino decided he was playing, and it was almost by himself, and then Max Entropy and Stoner Boy showed up.
Oh shit. That would have been a fun month.
Apparently.
I know
one of the things
an iPad, and that's
I'm honestly surprised those boards are even still up.
So that's I think Randy found us those boards originally, didn't you, Randy?
Yeah, I found some version of it, I think, and we, you know, it was not the best, but at least it worked for what we needed.
That's right.
Oh, definitely.
Hey, one of the
Hang
things.
on.
that Jordan asked when he sent that message into the group was, there's been all these failed relaunches. Why do they fail? And will it ever return? And I was thinking about that. And I thought, like, if it didn't return in 2020 when nobody could go outside and there was no social gatherings and like, maybe never. Like,
look, it's just something for us to talk about if we needed a topic, you know?
Yeah. But here's the thing. I do think there's a reason why they don't work. Because
I just don't think wrestling's as big as it was.
I think part of what you need to do as well is, I think what really, in my opinion, and we've talked about this from time to time as well, one of the things that really kind of got FedEx in trouble towards the end is that, especially when like Wrestle went down, is that if you're not bringing in new talent on a semi-regular basis and like encouraging real new people to stick around for a couple months and find their feet, it becomes very difficult for it to build. And while it's fun to burn new people, if we don't let them stick around, it becomes very difficult for them to grow into the game and to become, people that are going to bring in multiple characters or continue things on. So then it's just the same kind of 8 to 10 people just hanging out there.
It's a problem, right?
One of them gets tired and then it goes away.
Yeah, we ran into the problem was I don't think we built any new leaders.
Right.
Just the same people were running everything, and we didn't raise anybody else up to take over for us when we lost interest or had to move to something else for a little while or whatever.
Another aspect to it I find is that just like on a cursory search, it was hard to find the site. If like you were trying to Google it or something like that, and that also would affect what people, all the people that would normally stumble upon a site and say, hey, what's this? We weren't getting that kind of traffic, I don't think. I mean, you guys probably have more control of the analytics than I do, but I'm just,
No, that's probably true.
Yeah.
I think one of
sharing
our
the name of a
challenges.
super popular shipping company probably didn't help as far as the Google algorithm went.
So yeah, you're probably right. The I do think there are two things that really killed it. One, that inability to draw or track. Like if you go out and search, and I know that Tim has at different points sent me links to say, hey, like here's somebody who's doing something. It's pretty cool. It's kind of close to what we did. Like we didn't do it like when it was Wrestle, when it was what was the one that came after C Slam?
Yeah. What the fuck was that? It was some mixed martial arts. What was it called though?
Cyber Brawls.
Holy shit. Cyber Brawls.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
Right?
Sea Brawls, yo.
We did a great job of sending out people to go to other games like we did in Wrestle. Make the good players realize they didn't have to put up with mediocrity, and then going back to our Fed and bringing good players with us.
Right.
And then we reached this point where we didn't have this, Wrestle wasn't there generating new people anymore.
Feeder system.
Right. And we, like, I know the Wrestle guys would really hate to hear us say this, but Wrestle was our feeder system. You went to Wrestle and you learned to play. And once you got good, we would see you, and then someone would find a way to go and say to you, hey, you're too good for this now. Come here.
Right. Have you heard about FedEx? Have you heard about this? Good.
I'm sorry. Are you saying that Wrestle was our glorified indie?
That's exactly what I said.
Yes. He's saying, yeah.
And what was nice about that was that Wrestle in itself had a built-in indie system that I know I came up through, and I think everyone kind of did. But, it's the fact of the matter that, like, there wasn't really I don't feel there was an indie Fed in FedEx because you were already all kind of top-tier people.
Right.
Well, where did those new people we bring over from Wrestle continue to find their feet and get used to how the FedEx version of the game works?
And
it used to be good at how the Wrestle game works.
Yeah. There was a period, obviously, that like we expanded at one point in time because we had so many players and they were active. But I don't even know if that was ever our primary objective. Like, I think we did it because that's what players knew and were used to. And you don't want to be in a Fed where there's 70 people and you're like, doesn't matter how much I work, like I'm never going to get into the title picture. Like, so we split it up. But then when we split it up, we gave it leadership. We gave Gino a Fed. Like that was, Miller, if you're listening, that was the biggest train wreck ever. Like letting you and Price run a Fed. Come on.
I think you gave it to Gino because there weren't any other options at the time.
And like one of them, everybody had these like assistants. Like I don't know what they were. Like not a commissioner, but an assistant.
The people that did the actual work.
Yeah. You're talking about Empire though, and I feel like I need to take offense because I'm the Empire icon.
Yeah, but I assumed you went out and won icon status so you didn't have to stay in Empire all the time.
I just wanted it because I'd never won anything before.
I remember that we had that match and it was like 4 icons, I think, and it was a great match. Like it was fun to do, but I would tell you that if you could give me my pick and I could pick whoever I wanted and get 15 people who wanted to write, I think 15's the breakthrough number. I think the problem is
I'm start making notes right now.
You need 16 because you need an even number for matches.
No, because you need that one person who's not in matches just runs in to screw things up for other people.
So Benny, right?
Benny, that's right. Benny.
What?
But I like
shut up. Nobody wants me. Oh shucks.
So why so many of these attempts to reboot die is because you do it with 4 or 5 people, and if one person misses 2 days because things are going on in their life, everybody else just loses and then it drifts. But when you get to about 15 or so players, if 1 or 2 people can't post on a day, you still end up getting like 15 things to read that day. And that's what gets that constant churning of those creative juices. It's not that every post gets you going, but somewhere in the 15 things you read, there are going to be 3 that you're going to go, I want to write off of this. And then you do it, and hopefully you and a bunch of other people write 15 things the next day, and someone else, and the person who's gone for 2 days comes back and is like, crap, what did I miss? And reads. And yeah, there's a little bit of that risk, like, oh, I fall behind. But I think for the most part, it's the engine of creative ideas that you have to sustain, and you can't sustain it with 5 people.
I think 15 is also a good number because it gives you, one, it allows you to change partners. And so it's not constantly just you and another person or your alt and their alt going back and forth.
Right.
But I also like that idea because one of the big issues can also be if, say, you step away for 2 days and you come back and there's been a post, well, you then start to think, well, I can go away for like 4 or 5 days and not really miss anything. And then you start to go away for 4 or 5 days because things are kind of busy, or, oh, it's late and I forgot to check in, that sort of thing. It's like, I'm not going to miss anything. There's the one person posting.
Am I the only one that can only see the fan and thinks that is a totally Benny icon? Like he's just out, like the fan is him now, and we're having a conversation with a fan.
I love the fan rotating above his head, like in that shot. That's the shot. Like he's wearing his little
Benny is
beanie.
also a fan and a man.
That's amazing.
He's a man fan.
I can change the perspective.
But I do think the number is 15 players, not 15 characters. Like, I don't think you can do it with alts. I think you actually need 15 different people. And I think that's the problem.
I'm working on my list right now.
Once we got to a certain point, there was a tipping point towards failure. And once we started to see the attrition and we hit that tipping point towards failure, the writers who were left started to do exactly what Matt said, which is they started to go, I can be gone for 4 days. And then it was 6 days. Then it was 6 months.
I remember after one of our big events, I think it might have been Sponsor Wars, one of the last ones, we did a Fed Z. You remember Fed Z?
Yeah.
The idea at the time of doing it, if I remember correctly, was that we were trying to give everybody a chance to like purge from all the grind of Sponsor Wars to basically explore some other archetypes and basically kind of chill. And everybody used that as an excuse to kind of just not post. And then I felt like the momentum never kind of came back from that. You know,
Yeah, that might
just
be true.
as a possible theory. You know,
But
Because-
that's where Aaron started. It's not much to Jason's chagrin was the Fed Z thing, was that let's do something completely different character. And so
I thought he was around before then.
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure Fed Z was Aaron. I could be wrong.
I think the other idea with Fed Z was that behind a new character wall, you might get different players playing with each other because they didn't know, right? We took the names away to try and let new players have an entry point where they weren't dealing with the history of Federation X.
Yeah.
Because it could be daunting for new players, right?
Honestly, I felt like myself and Mike could have planned it out a little better, maybe made some events to get people to show up. But after that, things I felt the posting sort of dropped. And I also think that because we had so many really intense events like Sponsor Wars, King of Wrestling, etc., the months after these big events, there's always a huge drop, right? You know?
They were a big commitment.
You know, and we had so many events almost every other month, not quite on those two levels, but comparable, you know, be it the Crazy 8 or, you know, you can pick an event.
It's funny. I was just scrolling through the board, looking at some of those and like having memory synapses firing, go, hey, remember that? I was like, oh, I forgot we did the Crazy 8. And it was one of the ones that came up and I went, oh yeah, the Crazy 8.
That was nuts.
Yeah. Basically every other month we had to have a big sort of thing. And I think that could contribute to a lot of people wanting to drop off because of the time commitments. If you wanted to be competitive, wanted to hang with the higher tier people. In fact, some people I tried to introduce to it from Wrestle, they didn't like that it was so RP based because they liked the sim aspect because it meant they didn't have to devote as much time to their posting. They could do like 5 of 5 in 1 week and be good, you know? And sometimes I think that did kind of turn people off a little bit.
Good.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it might not feel accessible to everyone.
I think here was always my counterpoint, and we probably should have these conversations and put this podcast out when they were playing. Don't chase the world title then, and then you don't have an issue. Like, what's the problem? Like, if you want to be in a period where you post 5 times a week, chase the Bloodsport title. And it doesn't matter what title you're going after or what title you get your hands on. Treat it like it's the most important one, and all the stories will revolve around you.
I did think the Bloodsport was good for giving people reasons to post on days or weeks that were kind of in a lull, you know?
I just liked what it was worth from a story standpoint. I liked being Ed and going to guys and going, hey, you're the champ now. And then role playing that they were like, what, why? And then punching them in the face. So that I had somebody I could beat up. That's why. Like, it was such a good time. Like, if I was ever stumped, it was like, who haven't I punched in the face recently? Let's do a story.
Yeah. That was just my 2 cents. You guys can chime in too.
Still building my list.
All right. I was going to go back to Ryan Scott. I can't say Matt because we got 2 of them on the call. I was going to go back to Ryan Scott to say
Ryan and Benny.
Ryan, I don't know if everybody knows this, was not Ryan's first character in Federation X.
Wasn't it of Terror?
Nope.
Or Highland Terror?
No.
Nope. Was Acid Ed's tag team?
I have no idea.
It was.
Which one? Dick Brown? No.
Man of War.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Listen, when you say Acid Ed's tag team, you got to be more specific, Jeff.
That's
His
true.
best tag team partner. How dare you, sir?
You've had a few. You were kind of a tag ho a bit.
Good tag teams are always good story.
Well, except I think, you and Gino had the most committed relationship, I would say.
Although Gino had told me more than once that he was just waiting for the right time for Genocide to betray Alan Scott. And every time he went to write the story, he was like, I actually feel guilty about this. Like, and not like personally, like as Gino, he felt guilty. He was like, I don't know that he does it. Like they're just so well written together.
That's awesome.
Also,
It's
I remember
funny
you
that-
telling me it's okay.
No, you go.
I remember you telling me on more one occasion that like whenever you guys on the few occasions you lost, Gina would stop posting until you started again, Jeff.
Yeah.
Like you kind of hoisting them over your shoulder there a bit.
You gotta keep the talent motivated.
I like that from a character standpoint. I like that Gino was, in all reality, such a dickhead. But like, but like the one redeeming thing, because that was always kind of a funny thing about it. And I think about Wrestle every now and then outside of this. But you know that like Alan and Ryan are cousins. Gino and Alan are like best friends. Ryan can't stand Gino, and Gino, in all reality, can't stand Ryan. And so there's always kind of that tension between the three of them, especially because also Ryan also wants Alan to tag with him because there's this cousin thing, and Ryan's pretty much always second fiddle to Alan anyway. So it's all of that. And then it's whenever Ryan's doing something, Gino decides to poke his nose in, and Alan's always like, well, my tag team partner. It's like, well, your cousin is getting screwed over by this guy who is beating up the bartender of the bar he owns here in Japan. And you're like, well, you know, people do things outside of the ring.
With such a good dynamic from a writing standpoint. It was so much fun to read and to play off of. Totally agree. Who did anybody have a tag team that once they got into it, they were just like, I gotta get out. Like, this is just a complete train wreck.
The Bromance.
Oh yeah.
Which one was Bromance?
That was one of my olds, Homicide, and Eve Riley's alt, Nate Daniels.
Oh yeah, okay,
yeah. But they gave Gino gave us the excitement titles, and because I was stubborn, I determined to make them legitimate belts, and I fucking did it.
You did, but it was so funny because you guys were clearly the number one contenders.
Fine, we're gonna do this then.
But that was just the brilliance of Gino, who was like, they're going to be the number one contenders. Let's just give them a different title. And then we made it up.
Yeah.
Oh.
You spent a lot of time dodging us, you know.
Yeah. That was half the fun. And the best part of that is that Gino was actively, like, overtly dodging you, and Alan was unaware and just really believed that because we're in the same stable, we shouldn't fight. Like, the dynamic of Alan and Gino not being on the same page, but both working towards the same outcome was so much fun to write.
Very amazing, you know, very, very much so. And then didn't that eventually lead up to you guys starting the Good Guys?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Good Guys.
That stable
I don't remember their origin. I just remember you took the idea from how, like, everybody in Canada loved Bret Hart when he was there, but everybody in US hated him when he was in the US.
And when Hogan...
Excuse me, Australia. My bad.
Yeah, when Hogan... And I don't even know how we looped. I think because it's part of the Commonwealth. When Hogan came to...
It was because Stan wanted to be involved. And so
that's right. Yeah. When Hogan came to Toronto on his return to the WWE, he fought The Rock. And on all the feedback leading up to it in the US, The Rock was super over. But when The Rock showed up in Canada, he got booed because the Canadians were like, screw, that's Hulk Hogan, like, screw you. And the whole arena was on Hulk Hogan's side. And I remember thinking, this is just like Bret Hart. And then I think I was doing like Alan Scott was being booed in the arena. And I was like, how could you be booing us? Like, we're the good guys, right?
Yeah.
And it just, it went from there. And I remember at the time, there was a real, like, this could be a real wrestling angle tomorrow sense to it. I remember Randy sent me a message and he's like, the problem is the angle's so solid and you don't have a good enough team of guys to work against you. Like, I don't know how to deal with the good, because legitimately it's such a well-structured angle. I remember getting the message and being like, but you're Marlo, like you know how to figure all the angles out on this. And he was like, you are legitimately calling out like America for swerving common decency, and you're doing it on the heels of America doing something it shouldn't have done. Like, it's so well timed.
I remember you were telling me a couple of people that were faces in the game had a hard time opposing guys. So like, well, my guy's a face, I can't do X, Y, and Z. If you guys are saying you're the good guys, you know, right. It was hard being a face to go up against them because you're already restricted in what you can write and still be the protagonist.
Even I built different stables to try to get you guys, and there was just no way we could do it.
It was so much fun. I know it wasn't fun for you. It was so fun for us.
And so the ultimate outcome was Marlo loses a match and has to join the good guys. So
That's right. And I think the other thing that really was brilliant though is things like when Mountain decided to expose that we were the bad guys, and then like he was trying to show what a good guy he was, and he cooked for all of us. And then we all got food poisoning. Like, he didn't see that coming. We were just like, we got food poisoning, and somebody coined the term heel-ritos instead of burritos, and it was done. Like, it was, and he was so angry about it.
God bless
Good.
Mountain.
He should have been.
Oh my God, Mountain was a simple soul. I love
Wasn't he
Mountain.
though? Good old Mountain. Mountain was one of those guys that, like, God bless him. His character was all the things he wanted it to be. So his character fixed any problems. He was this like backwoods idiot who like would go against two guys that never cheated and yet would still get cheered over the top of them, and also was like somehow a genius lawyer and had like his whole family was like rich and things like that. And it's like, no, dude, you got to pick one lane and stay in that lane,
Yeah.
or we're going to call you on it every time. I'm sorry.
Well, I think really the death of him was the good guys, right? Because we started calling him on that stuff. We started in character coming out being like, hey, let's look at this video from last week. And we would call out his post and be like, where we were just being good guys and talking to the crowd. And who came in and started a fight when there didn't need to be, like, we just called him on everything.
Mountain really reminds me of Jim Dugan.
That is actually a great analogy, because Jim Dugan, in all reality, is kind of a dirtbag and kind of a cheater. But because he's this pro-American guy with the hacks, with the 2x4, everyone's like, yay! He never jobs. He never really does the stuff he should do as an employee. But they've set him up to be over with the crowd, no matter how heelish his actions may actually be.
It really does. I do wonder, looking back, like, we never really broke that stable up. I think that might have been a contributing factor. Think about who was in that stable.
And it was basically almost everyone.
It was the top guys. Yeah.
Right. Like, and when we brought Randy in, like when we got Marlo to be the stable manager, I mean, you'd show up for any match and you were always up against at least two of us because Marlo would show up. Right. And who's left? Like, Jordan wasn't really playing a ton in that time period, so we don't have him. Storm was gone. He tried a couple of comebacks but couldn't.
I had Chance and Eve Riley.
Right. So
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah. Putting Eric on blast.
Shut down.
Listen, Eric, I think you said the best thing you could say about Eric earlier, which is he sold the angle and put people over faithfully almost all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I had to read the post 6 times to figure out what he'd done, but he did it.
Yeah.
It was great.
What about
he was a passionate role player.
What about Eve Riley, man?
I barely remember.
Nothing.
To be honest.
Radio silence.
What can we say good about that?
I like Nate Daniels.
Radio.
Right up until he got into a relationship and forgot he was a womanizer. I thought he was a great character.
Oh, well, yeah.
Wasn't that relationship with Mandy?
Oh
shit. It might have been. It might have been. That's kind of cringe. Right. But not as cringe as a late stage Kitty Hawk. And the advent of the Kittyquit.
Ah, yes, Kittyquit.
Okay. Can we talk about the advent of the Kittyquit? Because it segues perfectly into what we were just talking about. The good guys.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And Benny Blair joining the good guys.
It's so true. And that was it. I'm out.
That was the moment when I forget which character was it. Kitty? It was Kitty, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, Kitty was out and Benny swerved her like oh my God. And she couldn't see it coming, or he couldn't see it coming.
He was so certain that Benny and Kitty and I can't even remember who else. Like, I can't remember.
We were going up against the good guys.
Right.
We were going up against the good guys. This was like DDP versus the NWO.
Right.
If
We
DDP
could
had
take
swerved
these guys.
everyone and joined the NWO.
Right. It was so classic. Let's see. The quit then. Quit because when they won a role play match, we didn't bury their opponent in our write-up of how much they won by. Like,
Yeah, that did happen.
That's a reason to quit.
Bill took a page from that book once and lambasted me for not burying his tag team partner when I said, listen, you've lost the tag team tournament, the King of the Ring version tag team tournament we had. It was him and Eliezer the Prophet. And I gave the nod to the team they were with, and he called it nepotism and went off the hook. And I said, well, first of all, of all the people involved in that, you're the only one who's gone drinking with me, who like rooms with me. Like, if anybody's getting nepotism, it's you. So that's a dumb argument. And number two,
no-showed it. So
what's that?
Plus, you gave him his own event, and he no-showed it. So,
Right.
You know.
Yeah, and then I said to him, and also, like, just like I would never bury the loser to make the winner feel better, I'm not going to bury the loser. Just, you lost. Do you really want me to go into detail about how Eliezer was rusty and there wasn't a good dynamic between your team? Just because you've been a team for a long time didn't make you great. You didn't work together, and it was obvious that you weren't in stride with one. Should I just throw him under a bus for you so that you can feel good? And then he was like, oh, okay, that's fair.
Yeah. Should we go with our top 15?
Yeah, do you have
Like,
an idea who it is?
Who we would start a Fed with? I made a list.
I'm dying to hear
I'm not
this.
even her.
I just want to hear it so I can talk about all the people that aren't on it.
I don't know. I think you might be surprised at what I've picked, because this would be a fun Fed to play.
Let's hear it.
All right, I'm starting off. Okay, the commissioner is going to be Lars, hands down.
Okay, no swearing. Your swerves have to be polite. I love Tim. We had all these arguments. He'd be like, why do they have to be allowed to swear in FedEx?
No. Okay, it's Lars, but with FedEx rules.
Okay. Tim's a great commissioner. I am not actually saying anything.
Oh, no, Tim
I wish
is
he could have
dope
voted
as
for
fuck.
me.
So I've got coming in number 1, Jericho. He was the reason I stayed in the game. I kept reading what he was writing, and I was like, fuck, I can do this. I can fucking do this.
Is this actually Jericho the character? I'm sorry, I don't know who Jericho is. Sorry, it's my bad.
Yeah, it's C-Slam.
Oh,
Yeah, he was in the CFL, and he's a way back.
Oh, I do remember the name. I do remember Jericho from CFL then, yes.
I mean, he could do what were the shoot posts called?
Shoot Star you're talking about?
Theater style was.
I've got another shoot poster on here, but Jericho could do both.
Yep.
He could role play. He could shoot. We got Naked Man coming in at number 2, because Naked Man can carry anything.
Yep.
He can carry a feather.
I would. My caveat to that, Benny, would be it depends on how keyed in Naked Man was. If he wasn't interested, you'd get one of his troll effort.
I mean, I'll give that to you. I'll give that to you.
But
3, I gotta go Stormfire. Joe was a fucking brilliant writer.
He really was.
Anyone that has not ever experienced a Stormfire post is missing out, because he put so much into those posts.
The whole omniscient narrator that would talk to the reader came from him first.
Did it?
It really did. That's where we all got it from. It was Bernie the narrator.
And then, you know, we kind of started doing a little bit with that. And I think Bernie eventually became sentient and stopped narrating Stormfire's posts for a while. If I remember right.
I remember there was a feud between Benny's narrator and Stormfire's narrator.
Right.
In the CWO, leading up till when C-Slam quit. And then once C-Slam quit, I'm sorry, but Stormy had the best angle ever. Was the nothing from the Neverending Story was taking over C-Slam. It was taking over all the feds. It was eating everything away. And we had to, because the nothing was inactivity, and we had to remain vigilant and stay active.
Yeah.
Number 4, I would definitely say Stan Daniels.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
Stan works with everything. I mean, he can write with anybody.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. 5, I'm gonna go Storm.
Nice.
I agree with that.
Look, he's a legend. He's almost, if not for Stu Man, Storm would be the Hulk Hogan of internet FedEx wrestling.
I agree with that.
Drop a Stu Man line, you win.
After Storm, I'm going to go Necropus. I never had the pleasure to work directly with him, but what I had always read of him was just brilliant.
Yeah.
Like the person that started the system, got all these cool dudes together, the Havens, Stan Daniels, Carnage.
Could flat out write.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Neck
And
was a good
flat
writer.
out, he wrote in his own voice, which is refreshing.
Yep.
I'm going to throw Battlestone into my Fed.
That's personal.
Listen, Battlestone was always a lot better than people gave him credit for. He was really good on the Simmons. People assumed he couldn't write, but he actually could when he was keyed in and motivated.
I'll reserve
exactly.
until I hear the rest of the list.
Hey, I had to spend time motivating Battlestone, but when I could motivate him, he was a good fucking writer.
He was. No,
He was
he
really
and
a
I
good
went
fucking
back
writer.
and forth a couple times. And yeah, he was good at it. My beef with him is all in character. So no, he's a good writer.
Yeah. I will forever call him the fucking turtle though, because of when he gets outwritten, he kind of goes into a shell. After Battlestone, I'm going to put Carnage in my Fed.
All right.
Carnage is a fucking, he brings a lunch pail to work every
He's a
day.
worker.
Yep.
He works
He's a
12
worker.
hours. He puts in his time. He doesn't complain. He does what he needs to do. Next is going to be Chevs.
And that's a guy you need to bail the Fed around.
Did you just say Chevy?
No.
I'm going to put Chevs
But
in my
why?
federation. You know why?
Because every Fed needs someone to dunk on.
He's the biggest heel in the game. The biggest heel in the game. And it's fucking brilliant. You guys missed the brilliance of Chevalier, right?
He's a Hulk Hogan heel in that he's so convinced of his own goodness that he actually is the bad guy. Yeah, 100%.
Right. Exactly. He's poisoning himself.
Mm-hmm.
And he was fun to dunk on. But you need that. You would, if you were building he's probably the most true, he's not really, but the most true blue face. And so if you need a face for a federation for people to go after, he's that guy.
And he will remain that guy because he wants to be that guy.
Yeah, that's right. He's going to stick to the character.
Here's where the list, I think, kind of gets interesting. Because I'm going to put Marlowe in there.
Nice.
I've only
Good
ever
choice.
written against Marlowe once. But I think the breadth of work that Marlowe put in as Marlowe Randy, the breadth of work that you put in as Marlo fucking astounds me. Just the maybe not the breadth, but the quality.
That was a
Randy, was Marlo's character template, was that Jerry Lynn?
kind of, yeah. It was Jerry Lynn and Terry Funk.
Did Marlo create like a main event match and then cheat to win it himself and make himself like, was that his heel turn?
I don't remember that one, but it
Did I
could have
make
been.
this up?
Doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Didn't have, yeah.
I could have sworn that Marlo had been kind of this face and he had won the right to like create a championship or create a match. And it was this crazy like cage thing with like,
Oh yeah, that was
hanging,
that was the Crazy 8 match, and it actually Von Braun came up with that, who was me.
Right.
And,
Okay,
and
that's
the truth of that was that was a real match that some indie fed had done, and they had
that's
the
right. You
cages
shared a video of it.
with the swinging bars and the trapeze, and it
Yeah.
was
But wasn't that part of like, I feel like that was part of Marlo's heel turn or like his movement from like mid card to like main event or something like that. Cause I remember that being a real big deal for that character. I feel like something really pivoted around that character wise.
well, when Marlo came in, he was just the guy who put people over in indies, and when I came in, the whole idea was that I was coming in as somebody new, and so like I worked with Ove, and I was just like saying, well, I put you over in this barn and that barn and this VFW hall. The least you could do is remember me, and it drove Ove crazy because he knew who I was, but he couldn't figure it out.
Love it.
I think that might be the brilliance of Marlo in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Is that that you know who I am, but you can't figure me out. That's why I always had difficulty writing against you, Randy.
But that was the fun with Marlo and Benny, was because we both went so completely ridiculous direction. The one Monty Python match that I remember the two of us going at, that was ridiculous.
Oh God. I remember messages back and forth, just LOL, ROFL, laughing my ass off.
What else you got?
Oh. All right.
What number are we at?
After Marlo. Oh, we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We got 5 left.
Okay.
I'm go Gino.
I think that's a solid choice.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's like he hits for average.
I would even say, well, my argument against
Well, I
that
hope
would
he
be,
sees this. I hope he sees this.
Gino's right on that Mendoza line for us.
Oh.
He really is.
You hit for average. No pop, no power, no threat, just average.
No, that's the thing. That's the thing. Is Gino, his character is always fertile ground for whatever you want to start.
Yeah.
He will go with it.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he will play along with it as far as Gino as a character will go. And that's usually pretty fucking far.
Uh-huh.
That's why Gino's got to be in this Fed. He can interact with anyone
From either side of the
any
plate.
of the names on my list.
And he's one of those guys that if you did go away for a couple of days, you'd come back and be like, well, what's Gino doing? Let's bump into him in the hallway and something will go on from there.
That's right.
One of the biggest remembrances I have of Gino is when he came back I want to say it must have been when we were in Japan. So
IP.
it still must have been Rassel.
And JPW.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he spent a month, like most people, I know I certainly did, would just be like, hey, I'm back. Hey, here I am in the ring. Let's fight. He spent like a month and a half doing all of those little vignettes of him training and getting ready to be back. And
He fucking
was amazing. And was it Hooligan who tried to call him out? And I think it was Hooligan. And he's like, you'll be gone in like 2 weeks. And then he started having the Jericho Goldberg matches against Hooligan because Hooligan had gone in that. He went like
The Hank
700 against Hooligan.
Yes, I remember that. Oh my God, the Hank Hooligan World Tour.
Yep.
Yes, that was it.
It was so good.
See, I thought you were
That's
going to
one of
bring
my
up
favorite
Tibia Awareness Month as one of his things.
Also amazing.
awareness.
Or the fact that he had a streak going and then XS like swerved him to end it on like the last.
No, that was
Yeah.
Excess. No, that was Excess's streak. He ended Excess's streak at the last minute. That was
Oh,
Excess.
maybe that's right. If I got it back,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
ended excesses. That sounds.
But you know what? That
It was
fits into
actually
Oh, go ahead.
just before midnight. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying it fits into the idea though of all of this because we're like, oh yeah, Gino just kind of does things, but then we can all remember like you remember all these great clutch hits that he has, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that hit, I remember that hit, I remember that hit, but you don't think of it overall as a thing. But everyone remembers at least one good hit that Gino had over
True.
the course of
Right.
his career.
Very true.
Right. Yeah. He's the fucking Beach Boys of wrestle.
Good call.
What an endorsement.
All right. So we got my last 1, 2, 3, 4. We're into my last 4. I'm going to go Dan Haven. I'm going to put him in there.
Nice choice.
Dan could write with anyone and he was adaptable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would have been better if he took a
I
big
think
role with us in FedEx. I would have liked that.
Dan would have thrived in FedEx.
I agree.
Like
He
the
tried-
few
he tried a
meetings that I
couple of
had with
times,
him.
but he just never caught on. I don't know whether it was timing or just couldn't find the right partner to work with. But yeah,
I think it was probably the latter.
Yeah, he tied his horse to McDervish, right?
yeah.
Right.
Oh
And
man,
the system.
I remember the Alan Scott McDermott feud. That was interesting.
I mean, feud. Is it really a feud when it's one-sided?
I mean, that's what I was kind of getting at, you know. But he just said it. I was just trying to imply it, be subtle about it.
Matt, it was a squash all the way around.
God damn.
Wow.
Hey, listen, I
I'm
posted
glad.
he's
gonna be
been
out
on
there.
here to defend himself. He wasn't.
All right. You guys want to hear my final 3?
Yeah.
I've got let's see, who should we go with first? This is a good final 3. We'll go with Prototype first.
Oh, that's a great choice.
Nice.
Proto is a legend.
You know, I never
He
actually
could
got to see
write.
a lot of Prototype when he was. Sorry.
He could write the paint on the side of a barn and it would look gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Got no arguments.
But do
Yeah, I
you
never got to
remember?
see him back in his prime, but I wish I could have.
Do you remember when he was in his like fuck you all, I hate everything days in wrestle? He like after 9/11, he immediately turned his profile picture into Osama bin Laden.
I do
Oh,
remember
wow.
that.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about okay. He knew how to push people's buttons, and I'm sorry, Matt Piperoy is one of the best angles I've ever read because it was basically that I am Tom Riddle or whatever, I am Voldemort
Mm-hmm.
message from the book. He took that and made Matt Piperoy, which literally, if you look at the words, spells out it's an anagram. It's I am Prototype.
Amazing.
And after Proto, we got who should I go with? Let's go with Kill All. Who remembers Kill All?
I don't.
That name sounds familiar, but no.
Name sounds, yeah,
Oh
that's the
my
only thing I
God.
recognize is maybe the name.
So Kill All was in the CCWE when C-Slam closed.
Well, you would think I would remember that.
He is, well, he was. I can't say he is because I haven't talked to him for like 14 years.
The last time you checked in on Stan's job.
Right. But yeah, I mean, Kill All was very much the straight man in a lot of Benny's antics. And I know that he played for a really long time. He was where he's where the finger thingy comes from.
Oh yeah.
You know, like, hey, we're gonna do air quotes, the finger thingy. That's Kill All. That's Kill All's influence.
It's old school. I don't remember him, but I'll take your word on that one.
All right. And then my last fella here in this Fed is going to be Silencer.
Oh, I remember Silencer.
Oh, Silencer, yeah.
Very
Yeah,
good.
that's a good one.
Silencer did theater style promo. I think that must be the person you're referencing from before. I mean, that was almost referred to as Silencer style, because he was so well known for that. I remember him being a real big deal, and I think when I came in, he was just maybe starting to get out of the game because he wasn't around as much. But yeah, I remember the Silencer style, and I remember the Dennis Leary picture and all of that.
Yeah, I think he did more admit stuff around the time when you came in, Matt. I think he was doing stuff with Philly Fats as like a commissioner / site admin and stuff.
Yeah, Philly, yeah.
But yeah.
Theater style to me, it was fun, but they put a lot of rules in place in most feds that made it a lot less fun really quickly. At least 2 feds I was in, like banned things like you can't make fun of somebody's spelling in their post. I'm like, well, if their character's talking and their spelling is brutal, I should be able to completely mock that in my post. Like that's
it was much stricter back when like the game was the Wild West, you know what I mean? Where you could kind of do almost anything.
And there was
like
limitless cannon fodder.
Well, yeah, there's that too.
That's a good fed. I would read that fed.
I know. I wanted to put it together like something like I would read that guy. I would read that guy. I would read that guy 15 times.
The funny thing is, I think, and again, this is what it comes back to from our conversation. If you could put those 15 together for a month, you'd get 30 other players that would show up once word got out.
Yeah.
You'd have 450 posts.
Yep. Absolutely.
We're going to.
What I like about a lot of those people is, 1, you have a variety of styles, but 2, I feel like you've got a couple of people there that, no matter their level, they would be down to wrestle with anybody. Like especially someone like Gino would try to punk out anybody, but I think Carnage definitely would be one to be like, oh, you're new, yeah, you want to do something? Let's do something. Right. And so he's, again, like you said about him being a great worker, Carnage is a great worker, and he's someone who's going to help keep things moving along when it gets slow. He's able to jump into anything. People want to work with him because they know he's going to generate things. Again, for a lot of the people you mentioned, but there's a lot of good people that are in there that will help continue the momentum when everyone else kind of takes a break, which is just as important.
And I think that's where Battlestone kind of fits in as well. Like Battlestone.
Benny, there's someone I want you to have for an honorable mention on your list that I think deserves it. Stryfe.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I was surprised Stryfe wasn't. I've got a list in my head of people you forgot. I was like, so Battlestone's in, Strife's not in, Carnage is in, Strife's not in.
No.
Like,
if I'm making my perfect fed, I'm sorry, Strife's on his own level. Stryfe can come and go as he pleases. Yeah. Stryfe has really fucking earned that.
I like it.
Yep. Yeah, I really hate Stryfe for how good Stryfe is at the game.
Stryfe's ridiculous. He writes Benny better than I write Benny.
Right? That's the thing. Like anything he touches, everyone suddenly gets excited about and wants to get on. And once he gets tired of it, it all just dies off. But he's absolutely amazing.
And watching him in
he's really good at it.
Was great, you know. Access and Stryfe really brought the best out of each other, you know.
Oh, they did 100%. I remember
Strife
when Stryfe lost his leg and Benny kept trying to replace his leg with random shit. That was around the AOD locker room.
Mhm.
so good. It was always a good read. Stryfe was just a solid
Oh,
writer.
Yeah.
he's more than solid. He's like if you're drafting a universal Fed, he's in it. He's the first one you pick because
So
he can be the foundation for everything.
So I think the one thing I would say about your list is that it's optimistic in that it assumes that the players who really have a history of being unreliable will suddenly be reliable.
I know, but I have to assume that they're going to be reliable in my goddamn Fed.
It's a dream list.
Yeah, I get that. But there's some names on there where you're like, but you're only going to get 2 posts a month. Like, I don't understand they're going to be good posts, but.
Well,
Wait. No,
What
who would I
names would
get
you
2 posts a month from? If they were excited?
Well, you say that, but like, there's a number of guys on your list who we have seen go through periods where, I mean, Strife's had those periods where he's in the middle of
I've had those periods.
and just disappear. Maybe I'm not clearly because nobody's playing right now. We've all had those periods, but I mean, certainly when Battlestone split his focus and decided he wanted to become a real wrestler, like he was super unreliable, right?
Well, yeah.
And also he reached out to me to ask if he could steal the Alan Scott gimmick and then didn't do it justice and couldn't get them to buy into it because they couldn't understand it.
wait, he did it in real life?
Yeah, well, he said that was his plan. He just wanted to check in and pick my brain about it and make sure it was cool, which of course it is. Like if you can get over on the being the bad guy who thinks he's a good guy, and you want to do like I said, honesty is just the tool that lets him think he's the good guy, right?
Right.
But he could not get his promoters to understand or buy in, is what he told me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy shit. He needs to work on his elevator pitches.
Yeah, because I think he definitely could have sold that. I saw him do some clips that he had shared, and I can't see why he couldn't have sold it.
Yeah, maybe it's because the indies don't look very they don't reach for the stars.
Yeah.
Necessarily.
Yeah.
In indies, it's a black and white. You're a face, you're a heel, and you're a dastardly heel or you're a weaselly heel. It's not,
You're a face, you're a heel. Will your body stand up to this?
Right.
Yeah.
Is what the indies is.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, right? The body just doesn't take it. That's fair.
So, Jeff, I have a question.
Yeah.
Who did Benny leave off that you thought should be on a list like that?
There's a lot
You said earlier you're thinking about he didn't.
Yeah, well,
You
first of
mentioned it
all,
earlier.
I mean,
First of all, Alan Scott.
well,
No,
That's Jeff's number one pick.
so my first observation was that of course he didn't name himself, and I think that's an oversight for any Fed. Like Benny's fantastic and creative and consistent, and stories are deep and detailed. Like who doesn't want that guy? So I think that's one. I think two, if I can, I mean, and I'm not even just pandering because we're on the call. If I can have Rude in his prime, I want Rude in my Fed.
I don't want Rude in any fucking Fed that I'm fucking in because he fucking beat me.
Just sheer bitterness. I love it.
He just beat you. He murdered you, didn't he? He murdered you.
He murdered me and I sold it.
Yeah.
Listen, not only did I
came back to the monkey.
Post in.
Is that after that you tried to have sex with a monkey to like destroy God?
Yes. Oh my God. That was the greatest angle ever.
I can't remember if that was pre-murder or post-murder, but I remember. I distinctly remember.
I remember post-murder. Benny was just
100%
like
post-murder.
possessing things for a while.
So
yeah,
I think if we're taking the standpoint or the expectation of people are going to play to their prime and not their unreliability and stuff, like obviously until we caught it, like Stryfe was on my list while he was going. I'm like, he hasn't said Stryfe yet. I don't understand why he hasn't said Stryfe yet.
because I didn't remember Stryfe.
Yeah.
Stryfe is in his own. He's in his own stratosphere.
He is just
As
fantastic.
far as I'm concerned, he's like Stryfe is the fucking Hemingway of online internet wrestling.
I also think, and I would be open to other interpretations, but obviously for me, I think XS when he's really on can not only carry an angle, but he can add levity to a heavy angle, and he can add depth to a light angle. Like I think there's a lot of talent in some of the glibness that comes out in his posts. Like it just has so much value for me. I think obviously we had Stan Daniels, but I tend to think of Stan and Ryan Scott very similarly, which is why I like them both, is that there's very little you can throw at them that they can't find a way to take a 9 and dial up just that one extra notch to a 10, like that they can take an angle that looks great and make it unreal or legendary. Is so valuable in both cases to me. I don't know if you guys knew or played a lot when he was in his heyday with Offensive, but he was fantastic, like really talented.
Yeah.
And so
Offensive was awesome.
Yeah. And so that's a guy that I look back and go, like, if he popped out of nowhere, I was like, hey, you don't remember me, but this is why I like, I'll start a Fed tomorrow. Let's go. Just you ripping on me until other people decide to show up because that's fun. I'm good with that. Let's do it. So I think for sure he would make my list. I'm sure that there are guys I'm just forgetting. Like some of this is just, you forget, right? Like it's been so long. But there are some really, really talented people that that we didn't get. So I know you guys didn't really get to see him at his peak, or maybe you saw him a little bit in Wrestle when he was running with the Blood Brothers. But Diggsy Brown was so good as a writer, they paid him to do it professionally.
Diggsy, that's a fucking that's another name,
right? And he's
that I've just forgotten about.
He was my dude, right? And so, like, obviously, what's that?
I was very privileged to actually have a match with Diggsy for the second King of Wrestling, and it was fantastic. Even though he wasn't, at full speed, he just rolled with things so naturally.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed the little amount of time I could play with him. I liked a lot.
Yeah, he was really good. And there's like a host of guys, like you talk about workers that I would look and go, like, I mean, I don't know how you skip an active Valentine in any federation.
Oh my God. I can't believe I missed Val.
So talented, right?
Val's the unsung hero of online internet wrestling.
Oh, Val.
What about
Go ahead,
I don't know if you remember this guy. What about Kieran Crow?
Yeah.
Y'all remember him?
I do.
I do.
Yeah. So he was solid. I don't know that I saw enough from him. And maybe that's the challenge, right? Like I just didn't see enough from him to be able to say
he was one of those guys that you could rely on for a solid match, but then I'm not sure he carried angles very well.
Right. Yeah, I think that's right. And so there were lots. Like there's and the truth is there's plenty of guys that had really good runs, even in Federation X, that don't make this list because their run was abbreviated or the angles didn't pick up or they were inconsistent, or, you could look at people who could really write, who clearly just lost their frickin' mind, like Kitty Hawk. Like, she wouldn't be on my list because I can't deal with somebody who would Kittyquit because the font wasn't red. So, but
yeah.
But we had a lot of people come through that were talented. I played with a lot of people that were really talented. I think when he's on and playing, like, is really good. I might take him as my worker over Carnage, except that it's been so long since he's had that kind of work ethic. I can't remember what it's like. Soothsayer was really good. Who was Diggsy in Rassel as a tag partner with in the Blood Brothers. The guy who gave us the name for Federation X.
Was that Alistair Fiend, maybe?
No, Al. I love you, Al, but you're not in my top 15. Sorry, buddy.
It wasn't Vig, was it?
Yeah, that's exactly who it was.
Vig, yeah. Vig was
Fuck
good.
yeah, of course it was fucking Vig.
Right. So like Diggsy and Vig together were really great, but like even when Vig came to NGPW, you know, we had a match and it was like a loser leaves the Fed match, and he tapped me to say like, hey, I want to start an angle so that you can do this, so that I have an exit. Like Ed is the person to put me down on this fight. Okay. Like he was so willing to take the loss because it was a better story. So a lot of talented guys. So like when you say 15, it sounds like a lot.
It doesn't. It's not enough.
Right. Like there's so many people that have talent that we skip. Like we talk about workers. We gave that moniker for Carnage. We gave that moniker kind of sort of for Battlestone. I think Osiris was really good.
Fuck yeah. I mean, O was a fucking worker.
Right.
To beat the
Bo did
band.
a good job.
So
if I remember right, Osiris is Ridgeway, correct?
That's right.
Okay, I just remember sure I remembered that right.
And the fact that he dealt with Valentine's constant chaos with such cool, like Val, you never know what he's going to post, and it's always brilliant. But if you're not ready to pivot,
you know why that is, Jeff?
What's that?
O came up in exactly the same month as Benny.
So he was exposed to that so constantly.
We were a tag team. We were the wave of supremacy. And we were both poised to join the Assassin's Guild with Vigilante and fuck, who's the other Assassin's Guild dude?
I remember the
It was
Assassin's
Vig and
Guild, I remember all
somebody.
the members.
It was Vig and Phantom.
Was it that guy named Crazy Horse part of that?
Yeah, Crazy Horse was part of the AG.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was
I think
AG
it
or
was. I think it was Al. I think it was a Lister Fiend.
Yeah, that's a real possibility.
I think it was Vig and Lister Fiend, and fucking Phantom messaged me because I had been talking to Jordan, and he was like, "We don't want you in our guild anymore." I was like, "Wait, why?" He's like, "We heard you were talking to the Army of Darkness." I was like, "Okay."
It was like a real thing back in the day.
Listen,
it really was.
Oh, yeah.
And it's
Benny,
all about
you were-
fucking egos and shit.
Benny, you were a perfect fit for AOD. I don't know what AOG didn't know what they lost.
Just a mess.
We were a group of like-minded individuals, I'd say.
We really were. Oh, who remembers Mikey Ripper?
I do, for sure. Yeah.
Mikey Ripper is probably the most pure talent as far as writing for this bullshit goes. Mikey Ripper is the most pure talent I've ever met. I would like to say it's Homeless Jay. It's not. It's Mikey Ripper.
I'm surprised you didn't
Yeah,
mention
Homeless Jay was on my list as well for people we missed.
Yeah, Homeless
Oh,
Jay.
well, yeah. Yeah, if I could build my dream Fed, it would be all AOD and system.
I mean, that's true. It would be very...
But
we'd be
it
having
would
a
be
galaxy
very
hopping...
variable Fed. You wouldn't have drama.
Right.
You know? You wouldn't have Live Dead Girl.
You would, however, have boners, Benny.
We would have many boners, and they would be explored, probably to excruciating points.
So let me do this because we're gonna run. I'm gonna run out of time. So somebody needs to build their list, and we need to get together again and listen to somebody else's list now that you've heard this one's.
Oh, we really do.
And it doesn't matter who it is. And number two, real quick before we go this time, you're gonna have to put somebody on blast. Who is not invited to your Fed?
Ooh.
Like, how long a list do you want?
Well, for the not invited to your Fed, you can just drop one name. We don't need to put the whole world on blast.
Yeah, let's just put somebody on.
Once somebody names the
that's
person,
easy.
you can't double down on it.
Oh, that's easy. Max Entropy. Fuck that guy.
Ooh, shit. Wow.
Ooh.
Not even no hesitation.
Whip.
Fuck that guy.
No, you were quick to that one.
Yeah, well done.
Waste no
I'm gonna say-
time.
I'm gonna say Phil Stone. A lot of you remember Phil. I want nothing to do with Phil.
Gotcha.
He was painful to deal with.
I don't have an objection to that.
I
Randy.
gotta tell you, Matt adding Chevalier. I mean, every time I worked with that guy, he was just a dick. I wanted
know.
nothing to do
That's the point, though. That's the point.
but it was a no sell situation, not like a he was just being I'm the good guy or whatever, and I think part of it goes back to
That's the
Gilgamesh
point.
being like
Oh
the
my
ultimate
God.
hero, and
No, the
him
point
being
is
offended.
Chevalier is so good that he's the biggest dick in the universe.
It's just like
That's how you have to play Chevalier.
you're rallying for him here, but
You're saying he's like the Boner Prime, Benny?
Randy
He
got a
really is.
veto and he just dropped it on him. Sorry. All right, Benny, who's not invited to the Fed?
Who's not invited to my Fed? Holy shit. Romulus Heinrich Winters.
Wow.
I remember that guy.
That's a pull.
That is a deep
I'm
pull.
torn. I
But
want
he is not invited to my Fed.
I want to say all males playing females.
Damn.
But what I'm actually going to say is dice.
Oh, snap.
Oh.
Because there's a talent minimum threshold.
Oh, nice. But Dice was the last name Enzel? Was it Dice Enzel?
Ezel.
Ezekiel.
That's it. Yeah, that guy was trash.
That's why you're my cousin, man.
And pretty crazy.
But you got to give him credit because he tried and tried and tried and tried and was still trash every time
Oh.
he tried.
Listen,
He's a fucking tryhard if there's anything.
he is that. But there should have been bonus points for self-awareness, and he just didn't have any.
He really didn't. I had to block him on Facebook because he just randomly messaged me on my wall when the wall was a thing.
Right.
Like, Benny, what are you doing? And this and this and this and this and this. And I was like, what? Wait, hang on.
I didn't
Let's try to
have
keep
to.
things behind the curtain.
He was such an easy mark. There was a Facebook thread one night. I think Scott Street started it about something, and somehow it devolved, and he got on it. And I just torched, and it was like just the same way we do everything, right? Like, you made a stupid comment, I'm going to jump on it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I torched him so bad, he asked for my address and said he was going to drive over and kick the crap out of me. And I right on the thread, and I said to Bill, like, this has got to count as a kill, right? Like, if we were still playing C-Slam, this would I would own him forever for this response.
You would have obviously sniped him, yes.
Yeah. And then Scott his phone was getting blown up because of all this thread going on. So he deleted the original post and we lost the whole thread.
Oh,
But I didn't have to block Dice because he blocked me.
That's even better.
guys,
we
look,
get
if you
Jordan
do happen
to-
to listen to this, I'm going to do some damage control. If you do happen to listen to this, you try so hard and you're so very mediocre.
Did we get Jordan's
Amazing.
list?
Oh, I didn't make one yet. We'll wait on that. Oh, we were talking about the person
Yeah,
not
yeah,
invited?
Jordan's not invited. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Max and Trophy, 100%.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. I forgot Max.
He drove an 18-wheeler straight over
Straight
Bill,
over Bill.
backed it up and drove it over him again.
Look, the dude's just mad that I could do his gimmick better than he ever could. I'm just saying. Anyway, fuck that guy. As far as like 15 people, I would need some time to really think on it, do it justice.
Yeah.
So
You know,
do
that
some
would totally
thinking
give
on
us a
it, and
reason.
And let's
that'll give us a reason to do this again, just to
let's
say.
do it again.
You know?
I like how the
'Cause-
lesson I've learned from that is the way that you beat Benny is to murder him.
It does
Look,
seem
man,
to
when I
work.
did that, I was sitting there weighing out in my head, and I'm like, look, they're either going to ban me for doing this, or I might shock them so much they'll give me the win. So let's just.
I was so
throw
surprised they didn't ban you.
I thought they were totally going to, but they didn't. So I'm like, well, I guess this is happening. So, you know.
Probably only because you sold it, Benny.
Yeah,
You did know
yeah.
really well.
I
Because
could,
at
dude.
that point there was the Chance Tannic, and then there was Chevalier is the Devil was a whole thing.
Oh my God, it was okay. Benny dying, I think, might have been my best writing because I was writing to lose at that point,
Mm-hmm.
but I wanted to keep going.
Just want to keep writing, but I'm dead,
okay,
so I lose.
Basically, Benny was dead, but at that point, I was like, I'm gonna keep going because I've got like 7 more posts to make.
Wait,
Because Jordan fucking killed me.
Benny died in a match with Rude?
Yeah.
Didn't
Yeah.
Ed
Yeah.
die in a match with Rude? How many characters have died during a match with Rude?
Uh-oh.
Oh,
conspiracy.
huh.
Maybe we don't
I
want
mean-
Rude in our Fed.
Maybe 2. Maybe
Yeah.
2.
Maybe 2.
Well, hold on, wait.
Let's count on how many
Actually,
characters I murdered.
that dying was not even my idea. Get out of here.
Listen, this isn't a 10 years later, we don't talk about how they died. We're just talking about the fact that they both died and the common denominator was a match with you.
Oh,
We
oh,
just-
so what you're
hang
saying?
on,
Oh, so
hang on,
we're
hang
doing
on,
some
hang on,
revisions.
hang on.
Huh?
Can we appreciate this brilliance for just a second? Is that I am 99.9% sure I called him Swervalier. Because he was the devil.
My gosh.
Swerve Valley, it's amazing.
All right, guys, I got to wrap up, but
Mhm.
let's figure out a time. Let's do it again. We'll get somebody else's list.
Yes.
I really would appreciate it. I mean, this was a lot of fun. It was great hearing from everybody again.
Yeah.
It really was.
Glad we could. And I think, so the idea came up right around Jordan's birthday, which was a few weeks back, right, Jordan?
Yeah, I messaged you out of the blue and was like, hey, let's do this thing.
Right. And then, Randy, yours was only a couple days ago, right?
Yep, my birthday was Thursday.
Yeah. So happy birthday to both of you now that we've finally gotten
Happy
on here to do
birthday.
this.
Birthday, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. Yeah, let's do this. Let's talk about how amazing it was, all the people who showed up on it, so that Price can sit around going, what did I miss?
The Price can sit around and try to suck his dick.
That's right.
Exactly.
By the way, I have the recording. It records automatically. So I can probably figure out a place to host it if anybody wants to actually listen to this.
Absolutely.
Nice.
You put it on the FedEx page after you would have, if you felt like editing it or whatever, because I think there would be someone that would want to listen to this show.
I can probably just put the post up, the link directly up, and somebody can click on it and listen
Yeah,
to it. If they
that's
want.
about all you can do. I think,
Put it up in
from
the FedEx
pay-
Facebook.
boards. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I will put it up there, and I will talk to you guys when we do it again.
All
Talk to you guys later.
See you guys.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you again.